Hi there, Chris here again from racingbetdata.com. The video today, again, we're going to be looking at Power Query, but this time in a little bit more detail. Some people have really grasped the concept and understand how Power Query can work in the basic, but I think we've had a few queries directly around file size, so people trying to export en masse from the data dashboard here and running into sluggish Excel performance. Basically, they're trying to export too many rows that Excel can't handle it. So we're going to show you another way around this in this video that will be of more use, allow you to give you a bit more flexibility and understanding of how you can manipulate the data now. Now people start understanding what Power Query can do for them. So first things first, you need to go to the data dashboard and export your columns that you're interested in. Now, to cut down, first of all, on file size, you can go to the customize columns part of the website and you can untick columns that you're not interested in. So I've unticked things like the pre-race, the forecasted odds, headgear, weighing distances, tick drops, and a lot of the performance of the horse information. Now that's my personal preference for this video. These columns may be of specific interest to you, so I'm not telling you which columns to select and deselect. I am just selecting the ones that are of relevance for this video and the way that I've outputted so far. So that's how you can do it. Click update and that will save. So when you go to the dashboard and you want to export your data, you scroll to the bottom here. If we want to select yesterday and export to Excel, we will now get the data exported with those columns excluded, as you can see here. Okay, so we've only got the columns that I need in the data set. So what I've done is build up a folder full of data files. So you can see them here. And what I'm going to do is just open the 2024 file, and I'm going to add in the extract that I've just downloaded. So here's the 2024 data. Scroll to the bottom here, and I get my data that I've just exported. Open this one up and I can select the whole data set, copy it, and then go back to my 2024 and paste that information in. And you can see it's added to the bottom there, and I can save and close this file. And kill this one, and then you can see that the file is now modified as of 10:52 this morning. So the importance is there. You need to keep these files maintained. If you miss a day or a couple of days, you can easily go to the date picker option here at the top, and you can go in and select the date that you've missed and export that to Excel and open that file up, and that will give you that day's data. The other option, obviously, if you wanted to export a bit more in bulk, so if you wanted to export a full month, for instance, go to the dashboard. You can leave this unfiltered if that's your desire. You can filter out if you're looking at specific tracks or jockeys, trainers, for instance. I've exported everything here, so you know the biggest file can be. But if you wanted to look at a certain month, you can untick and then add in April, May. So it is really important that you move with the times. The data is ever changing. If you're maintaining a database and a dashboard, it is important that you do keep it up to date. So what we've done there, we have shown you how you can export from the dashboard, how you can select what columns are shown in the output, shown you how you can add in days that you might have missed or months that you might have missed as chunks. What we need to do now is work on creating our Power Query. So the first thing we need to do is create a blank Excel file. So find your Excel, open Excel up as a blank workbook, and then what we want to do is create our Power Query. So very similar to how we've done it before, but this time what we're going to be doing, instead of bringing the data into the file itself, we're going to keep this data remote. So the data is accessible, but it's not actually physically in the file itself, which means that the file size should be an awful lot smaller, making data manipulation a lot easier and quicker. So we're going to go to Get Data and select the folder that we want to get the data from. So mine is in Dropbox and it's called Years. So I'm just going to select Open there, and that will start connecting. And what it's done is found my my folder path, and it's found the files that are contained within it, which happen to match what we've got here. So that's a good start. We've got options down the bottom, but what we want to do is combine and transform the data. So this allows us to combine the files together. So it's checking to make sure that they're all consistent. So that is a key thing. You need to make sure that your columns are consistent between your files, or else you will have errors and mismatches. It's then saying there's no preview here. Which file do we want to use as a sample? Well, we use the first file that's come across, and they will name sheet 1, and that brings up a preview. Now we can skip files with errors. If you have any erroneous data in there, you can ignore that from your data set and click OK. And this brings up the Power Query editor. Okay, so this is familiar to those of you that have followed Power Query videos that we've done or other people have done in the past. And this allows you to manipulate your output. Okay, so the output, as I said, this time we're not bringing it into the file itself. It is still going to be sat connected to the file in the background, so you can run queries, pivot tables, slices, analysis off it. But it's just not going to be bringing in these millions of rows that people's Excels were starting to creak with. So what we can do is work our way through and delete out any columns that aren't needed. So it always adds in this source name, so we can take that out. We don't need that column within our data set, and you can convert any columns you don't need. And obviously, you know, if I've shown you how you can filter out these columns on the dashboard, you can also filter them out here if they're not applicable to you. So you can export the full data set from the dashboard. It'll mean your source files are a little bit bigger, but you can do your filtering here rather than within the dashboard itself. I'm going to convert any columns that aren't in the right format. So this one, for instance, it pulls through as date and time. We're just going to convert it to time. We've already got the date in the first column, and we can look through to see if there's anything else that we want to convert or change. But generally, I think these should all be in the right format. We could convert some of these to currency, for instance, if you so desire. And that takes us to the end, which is I've named it BF rank. It actually pulls through as Betfair rank, so I've changed that in my source files, and that's how it pulls through. Now, the next part is where you can add in your own customized columns if you wish. Now, let's show you how you can do it. You can go to Add Column and Custom Column, and we can call this one Week Num. So if you wanted the conversion to get the day of the week in here, now one very simple way in which you can do this is go to ChatGPT. So if I just go to my browser, I'm just going to ChatGPT. I'll bring this back on screen here for you. And if I want to enter in here some text to get me the week number based on the date, this is how I do it. So I'm just going to type into here, create Power Query to give me week number based on column called date of race. ChatGPT will then go away and work this out for you. It'll give you a lot more than you need. We've already done this step, but this is the bit you want. This is the code that it's suggested. Now it doesn't always get it right, so you might need to adjust it and copy it and talk to it again. We don't need the M code, we just want the formula. So wait for it to finish. We can copy the code here. Now if we go back to our Excel and we can put this in directly, date of race, so we can just make sure that is case sensitive in here. We only need one set of brackets. I've added another one by mistake. And that should, let's check it, convert for us. Week number, there you go. So it's giving you the date, the week number based on the date of the race. Okay, now we can add in more complex code if we want. Let's use an example here. Let's say we want to create a custom column in our query to give the range of column Betfair P based on the table below. And we can paste in, and let's see what it gives me. So what I'm saying is, what's the Betfair SP? Which one of these columns does it filter into? And again, it's given me the code here automatically. Very clever. Just wait for this to complete and then I'll copy it in and see how it looks. You might need to try it a couple of times, but it's fairly easy to delete columns and redo them. Just change your wording on ChatGPT. Now I'm using ChatGPT because it's the quickest option, but I'm assuming that you don't have the coding skills necessary to do it, which I probably don't, which is why I'm using this as an option. So let's add in a custom column. Let's call this one range. Let's paste it in. Don't think we need this bit in here. Let's see how this. Don't think we need all of this stuff at the beginning. Let me just try it and see what it gives me. Yeah, I don't think it needs all of that in there. Let's strip out all of this. I think we just can work from here. There we go, let's try this. There you go, it's done it. So if we just check here, the Betfair SP 3.4660.124. There you go. It's given us the range in this column all the way down based on the Betfair SP. Now what else can we do? So we can add in additional columns such as, let's say we want to get the day of the week in here. We can pop in here, and again it's how you word it, but create a custom column in our query to give the day of the week from column date of race. See what it gives us here. Again, it's telling us how to add a custom column at the beginning here. What we want is the code. We know how to do this now. And there's the code it's given us. Let's just stop this and take the code and see how we're getting on with it. If we go in and add a custom column, day of race, we paste this in. Picked up date of race, that's correct. There you go. So it's already calculated for us what day of the week each one of these races has run at. So you can add these columns in, and essentially what they're doing is doing the calculation once rather than doing it for multiple lines, and this will happen in the background and you can go into each one of these and look at the data. So there goes the breakdown of that formula for the Betfair range that we've done. And you can add in what you want, and you can add these in at a later stage as well. So I've just set up a couple of additional columns in there for us. Where's the other week gone? I think it's there. There you go. It's added in. Let's transform the data and start looking at it and using it without actually being able to see it. Okay, so yeah, go to home, close and load to. So the important bit to say is only create a connection and add it to the data model. Those are the two options you want. Previously we've shown you by clicking table, but we don't want to export this into Excel directly because of the size, which you'll see here. So normal Excel modern sheets can handle just over 1 million rows of data. We're importing 10 plus years worth of racing data here in one hit, which will exceed 1 million rows. So not only would Excel not be able to handle that on one sheet, your file size would be astronomical, and likely to be encroaching on a size that your standard laptop or desktop PC wouldn't be able to handle. Certainly not with any sort of speed or accuracy. So I'm not skipping the video here. I'm letting this run. It's generating in the background, as you can see. And then when it fully populates, what we'll be able to do is manipulate the data as we would normally. Pivot tables, slices, form whatever you want to form in your spreadsheet. We just wouldn't have the data there visible in column and row format, which you don't need. So we're at 1.2 million already. You can see here rows loaded into the model. It's just wrapping up now, so we should be presented with a completion. So what we can do is start building our pivot table. So let's say we want to build a pivot table from the data model. Where do we want it to go? Let's select here. And we can open this up and you have all of your options available that you want to see in there. So let's say, for instance, we want to use the stall data down this side here. And for instance, we want to look at the year of the race across the top. And then if we want to look at the profit based on, we can look at the Betfair win return or the place return. Let's just put the place SP in here. It's what we've used before. And we can say where, well, let's leave it as that basic data for the moment, I guess. So what we've got here, let's put actually one more thing we'll put in here. We'll put in the place at the top as a separate filter control, but we're going to leave it as all. Now we can convert all of this to, lost it all there. We can change the format of these cells to currency. And you have it there. You can reorder this. It's not picking these up as a number. I didn't convert that, so it's putting these as text order. But we can very easily manipulate this, and you have it in order there. Now, obviously, we have our stored data goes back to 2019. So that's why we have all the blanks in here, apart from where we had the not available down the bottom. And you have your total, so we have a pivot table already. Now what you can do is apply your slices. Let's close that one down. Let's call this name pivots. Let's call this one slices. Let's make this a bit smaller. Now, again, as I say with each of these videos, I am not doing anything and telling you to go away and copy this like for like as a system. What I'm doing is using example data that we have available to you, and showing you how you can bring it together and start your analysis. Now, you might be looking at pace, you might be looking at the RBD rank, you might be looking at stall, you might be looking at horses that won in the last 5, whatever it might be, and you can combine all of that into the spreadsheet. So please don't get hung up on the fact that I've just done this on stall data alone. Let's copy this pivot table, select pivot table, and then copy it. Let's pop it over here, and instead of having the profitability in the table, let's have count. And what we'll be able to see here, if I change this back to number format, you'll be able to see how many horse or how many races there have been. And then if I select this pivot table again and place it way over here, now I'm doing this very quickly, but we can neaten this up. You can see how many first places there have been. So where places 1, so you can see there 2019, 2020, how many winners there have been against how many total, and what the returns would have been. Okay, now let's go back to our slices, and let's say we want to create a nice looking pivot layout here. So let's insert, in fact we need to go here and then click the insert slicer. Okay, let's say we want to add in, now we've got our new calculations here. So we've got the week number. What else did we do? We did day of the week, didn't we? Day of week. Now you have that already broken down the way the pivot table work in modern files. They break those down for you. We can put in the country, track. So this is alphabetical, the way these slices are stored here. That's the order of them. We can put in the date of race month, date of race quarter. What else do we do? We did day of week. We've got that in there. How about number of runners? Let's create all of these, and these will dump all in here, and I'm just going to select each and every one of them. And I'm going to move them over to our slicer tab that I've just created. I'm going to cut all of those, paste them in here, and align them. Just make sure that they are connecting to each one of the tables. Now once you copy any of these will retain that information. So if I did a new slicer, it should automatically calculate to these pivot tables. If I create more pivot tables on the back of the existing ones, the connections should also apply, but you might need to just check that. Very easy to do. Obviously just click your slicer and make sure the connections are in place like I'm doing here. So we have our basic controls now in place. Now with week number, I'm just going to change the layout of this. Where is it? Properties, position and layout. Number of columns, let's make that 20. I'm not going to fiddle around the size because I can just drag it and make it appear how I want. So we can have the week number at the top. And then let's say we want to have in here the country. No, there's only 2, so there's no need for the slicer to be that big. Let's leave it like that. Country. And then we can put in the track. So obviously there's going to be multiple tracks. Let's bring that down to the bottom so we've got more visibility. And we can put it in the date of the race. So let's put the month across the top here. And again, we can bring that down a little bit. You can cover all of these if you want. It's just making this work for you, how you like the layout. You change the color and all sorts here, you know, whatever you want to do to make it visually appealing to you. And we can put the quarter in here. Now where they're grayed out, they're not applicable, they don't count. There's no information, so you've only got 4 quarters. day of the week. Let's bring that in down the bottom there. You can make this a little bit smaller so you can fit everything in. And then we can have runners, so let's change that as well. And let's make this 20 as well. And we can have the number of runners along the bottom here. Okay, so I've created some slices. I've got a blank area in the middle here, and what I can do here is reference the pivot table or pivot tables. So whenever I click something here, I get the visual of what I want to see rather than having all your pivot tables going back and forth. So let's start building some of that information. And let's say we've got the store data. Let's just hard copy the values in here. Obviously I've exceeded the size. Let's put that here. Move this up. Yeah. We probably don't need that amount of stalls. It's very rare that you can be running races with more, so we can probably cut it off somewhere around here, 25. Stall data. It's going to tell me to convert this to a number, which is fine. And then we can put across the year, the top here, the year. So let's do 2019, 2020. I should be able to extrapolate this along. Yeah, obviously we've not got information there. And then what we can do is start looking at the occurrence rate, perhaps. So let's say the pivot, what we want to look at is number of winners, which was this one here. And then we want to divide it by the number of occurrences, which was here. Okay, so that's given us a percentage that from 2019 horses running out of stall 1 for any race, won with a 11.7% win ratio. Okay, now the bad thing is if I drag it here, it's just going to say the same thing. Drag it here, drag it down. So what we can do is replace some of these hard-coded elements with references. Okay, now if we look in here, we want to be looking at the item. So where we have this information here, we need this 1 to reference all the way down, and then when we have the year here, we need it to be referencing across the top. So there's a number of ways you can do it. I'm going to show you a quick way with concatenation, and I'm just going to bring it over here. Quite often I like to do this, concatenate. So here's the text that we are presented with to start with. Now the bit we want to change is in here. So we can put a reference in and say that's the stall we want to reference, and we want to fix the column, and then we need to put the closing bracket on the end, and we can copy this now and then add it into here, take away the equals. So you'll see that value's gone back to 739, and we want to do it in the second part of the equation. So it's 6316. You can see if I take that out, there's no formula, there's no result to the formula, and then 6316. So that means I can drag this down now, and those values will change. Okay. Now the second part we want to look at is the other item, which is the year. So if I copy that string and paste it over here, what we can do is concatenate this as well. Now, like I said, I'm trying to do it an easy way for you because not everybody is au fait with Excel and formulas, and I'm by no means an expert, but this is a quick and easy way of doing it. And it just keeps your references neat and tidy. So there we go. We have that one, and we've frozen the row rather than the column there because we're dragging it horizontally rather than vertically. And we should, again, take this out. The 739 disappears, put this in, and it reappears. And then we want to do the same here. Just missed it. There we go. And we can then put in an error statement, an error trap, if error. So what do we want to display if there is an error in the calculation? Because 2020, COVID, for instance, we can put in a blank. Now, if you put a 0, if you're using this to determine an average, the 0 skews that. So you've got to decide what you want in here. Now, it could be a 0 in 2020 because there were no races. It could be a 0 in 2021 because there wasn't any winners from those stalls. So I think with 2020, you've got to be a little bit careful with that with the COVID year, how things ran. But now see, if I drag it this way, you can see what the outputs are. Now these are blank because we're not in 2025, 26 yet. Drag it all the way down and you have your data, okay? Now, like I said in here, what you can start doing is looking at averages, for instance. So let's say, what's the average from these? And what you can do is look at the difference. So you can look at what this is minus current year. Not much. If you drag it down, you'll be able to see the overall differences. So, you know, stall 20, and we're not looking at any filters here, so this is the whole data set. But you can start looking at the information on one tidy little area rather than all your multiple pivot tables, because you can bring the information across. If we wanted to look at the profit and loss, for instance, we can do the same. Say, right, where's our profit for stall 1? Here it is. Actually, no, we need to look at it for I know what I've done here. I've used the incorrect. I've used Betfair Place SP rather than Betfair Place Return. That's why it's giving profit everywhere. I needed to see some red. There you go. And then we can go back to the slicer here and reference the sum from this one. And again, what we can do is use the rank here formula I've already left in here handily. So if we go in here, item 1, so it's minus 14,987, and I can drag that down. Then I've made it dynamic, and we can turn it into, come on, currency. Okay, now you could look at if you wanted to look at this, so this is showing all years. If you want to look at that minus the current year, and what you can do at the top is put equals today equals year. So you can have a quick reference at the top here, equals week number. So there you go, you know what date, year, week number, whatever it is you want to look at. You've got a quick, you know what day of the week it is, but it's all visually there, and you can link to it. So if you wanted to say minus 2024, what you can do in here is put that same formula, so the one for the stall, put I didn't pick that up, so that's why it's not copying. Copy that. Let's go in here, minus, I'm just going to do it one bit at a time, so it's minus 1863, and then the second part will be your year. Okay, now a little bit different on this one because we want to fix it to the current year. So in this formula here, it's looking at 2019, but what we want to look at is, I'm just going to go on to the concatenation, so it's looking at C6 here, but we want to look at Y2, and we want to fix it with double dollar signs. So what that's saying, so if we drag it down, 8332, so what it's saying for stall 2 here is that the total's 8332, but if you take away this year's, which is profitable, it's actually minus 10,000 because we've had an £1,800 profit this year. So this is profit and loss excluding this year. It's up to you if you want to do that, but that's how you can do it. I can drag that all the way down. So what we can do here is pick up and put conditional formatting in, for instance. So let's say we want to look at a rule where cells that which one do we want to use? There's so many that equal to 0. Let's put this in. Let's say we want to flag it yellow. Okay, and then we want to apply it to this range. So what that does is instantly notify you if there's any stalls in this instance where there hasn't been a winner yet this year. Okay, you can apply in here conditional formatting to say, I don't know, which are the most profitable stalls. There you go, gives you a color scale so you can see instantly which are the most profitable stalls. You can add things like green, the arrows, whatever it is you want to apply to your formula. Put in your indicators. There you go. So it gives you green. It's actually saying that one's a tick, even though it's one of the top. So it's based on the. If you look at the formula, and it will. So it's looking at your percentage. So you could say anything that's 90%, and then where this is 90, less than 90, and greater than 33, and apply it. So it gives you your top 2 really there, ticks with the green. So just ways you can format the data. Now we've put these slices in, but I haven't used them yet. Let's have a little click on one. So where have we got today? I'm just going to open up my on the other screen and just look at where's running today. So we have Ripon. Let's have a look. So you've instantly got your information on the screen there. Now what it's flagged up here is errors because we haven't put any error handling in this. So let's just do that to make it neater. Error on here, naught, and then error in here, naught. And then do the same on this one. Error equals naught. That's tidied that all up for us. So in terms of what it's saying, well, we're not really, again, like I said at the outset, we're not doing this for any purpose other than to demonstrate how you can use the data. I'm not telling you to go away and use the specifics here. I'm showing you how you can get your data into Power Query. It's not loaded as a table, so this file size is going to be greatly reduced. Then you can use your pivot tables. We can apply slicers to create your own dashboard, and then you've got your data visibility in the middle here to show you what you need to see. So what this is telling me is that races at Ripon over the last 5 years, stall 4, stall 6 have been the 2 most profitable so far year to date. Stall 11, 12, 13 and 14 have had races, but they haven't had a winner come from those stalls. Here's the average amount of winners you would expect, and then obviously the difference, so you can see which stalls are up or down, and by what percent. You can obviously go back and look at your pivot tables. So this these are now adjusted to ribbon. So if I clear this, if you just have a look at this figure here, 4.5 and 9.4, I take this filter off, that's changed. So we are controlling these pivot tables centrally from these filters. Okay. Now what you put in here, entirely up to you, as I've said. This is showing you how you can use the data and analyze it, continue to build on it. So like I said at the outset, adding new files in is equally important. And the way you do it is you just add to your source files that are here, add to your source files each day, as I did at the outset, and then you simply open up your control file here and just click refresh all, and that will pull the new data through in a matter of seconds. And then you just add to that 2024 file every day, however often. Said you've got the dashboard, you can go in and use the date picker if you've missed a couple of days, download those, export them, put them into the 2024, and then use this file to update, and that will bring that through. Now if you wanted to add another column, let's show you how you can do that. If we click here and go edit, this brings up the editor. So we're going to go to the right hand side again, and I'm going to add in another new column, custom column. Now let's say we want to look at odd, even months. So I've shown you about this for testing. Now we can split this out and show you how you can integrate it in your Power Query dashboard. Let's bring old ChatGPT back up and say create a new custom column, and I could obviously just word this differently, say give me the formula in Power Query to show if the month is odd or even using column date of race for the date. And let's see what it gives me here. So again, we've done all that, the custom column part all done, and there we go, it's given me a formula. That's not the code, that's all we need. Copy that. If I go back to my Excel and then paste this in, erase, yep, so it's selected in there, it's good. There you go, you've got odd or even. Let's go back and close and load. Loading the data in, so this is the new column that's just added in. It's going to add this in for each of the rows in the data set. You can see down the bottom it's retrieving the data. Obviously the more data you've got in here, the longer it'll take. A couple of million rows or 1.5 million rows, it's going to take a minute or two. It's still a lot more effective and efficient than trying to add in new columns in a workbook table. You can see here now it's working through the data down the bottom in the message bar. 1.2 mil. And it's updating and it's done. So we should have now moment of truth. Let's go and let's add a new slicer in. Insert slicer. What do we call it? Odd even month, wasn't it? There we go. There's our slicer. Connect it to all three. And let's drag it out of here. Pop it in here. And what we can do now is look at, let's go back to our make ribbon. This is everything. We want to look at even months. Okay, stall 4, stall 2. We want to look at odd months. Stall 4 again, stall 2, negative. So you can control your pivot tables here from your one dashboard and have a look. I mean, you could copy this over, create a copy, let's call it slices odd, rename even. We can select that one on even, and I would have to duplicate the pivot tables as well because it's just going to control it each time, but you get what I mean here. It's going to select. What we'd have to do is copy these pivot tables and link this one to one batch. Let's just do it. Boom. So these ones are now called 6, 5, and should be 4. So let's link this to actually I'm going to have to do is delete this one. I'm going to select slicer not even. Just going to let me do this. Let's try it. It might be that these are too intrinsically linked that I won't be able to separate it out without doing different pivot tables. Let's have a look. I think this one is going to control because it's the same report. Okay, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So if I select 1, 2, 3 and unselect it, it's going to do the same on the other one. It's going to keep flicking between the two. It's because these pivot tables are linked. I would have to create them separately and link the slices independently of each other. But you get the idea of what I'm trying to show. I'm going into the bowels here and go into nitty gritty around slices. But hopefully the video gives you inspiration. It shows you how you can manipulate this data a lot easier than perhaps you are doing. The key takeaway for me is making sure that you're populating your source files, keeping them updated, because as soon as this data goes a couple of days, weeks out of date, if you're looking at it for any data related purposes, you're using old data and you're looking down the wrong path potentially. So it's important you keep the data up to date, refresh it in here, use the slicers better than I have, but hopefully I've given you some tips with these formulas how you can easily get your displays showing what you want without having to have study 2, 3 pivot tables and keep flicking between them. You can get your data into a central area, control it with your slicers and link it to your pivot tables. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more useful content.